People talk a lot about tariffs, right? I've seen people talk about the effects of the tariffs, and a lot of you know that, right? In case you don't know, Donald Trump believes heavily in tariffs, and he wants to put tariffs not just on our enemies but on our allies. And again, I'm not telling you to agree or disagree with this. Believe it or not, there are arguments in favor and against all of that, right? So if you hate Trump and want me to hate him with you, you're not going to get that. If you love Trump and you want me to love him with you, you're just not going to get that. So I have to be honest with you. But the tariffs, generally, the tariffs are a double-edged sword. The two things tariffs do, one is they have the benefit of protecting local industries. They can protect your local industries. The downside of a tariff, though, is that a tariff can cause inflation. So, and that's because you're pushing up the prices of goods and commodities, and reducing competition, things like that. So ultimately, the tariffs have been the big talking point that a lot of people have grabbed onto, but there's another angle in terms of a lot of this that I haven't really seen discussed in terms of what he might be doing to the economy, and that might be just fear, just flat out fear. Um, you know, Trump has been laying off lots of people in the government, right? And you know, if you want to ask this question, is Donald Trump ruining the economy? The the thing I would say, like one of the best arguments you could make is that when you go out and you slaughter hundreds of thousands of jobs in broad daylight, and people are watching their friends and their neighbors lose their jobs and lose their homes and stuff like that, you might have a good reason for that, but you're going to create a lot of financial trauma, a lot of trauma. Give me a yes if you understand where I'm coming from. The financial trauma is like I'm sitting here and I survived, but I watched my friends get financially killed. And so now I'm scared to death. I am mortified, right? It's like if I go to the military and I see all my buddies get shot, I'm not going to be the same. I'm not going to feel the same. I'm not going to be the same person. And so when you watch all these employees get financially shot in broad daylight, that trauma, I believe, is contagious. I think that a lot of people sitting next to them are like, whoa, wait, we could be next. I could lose my job. I better stop spending because I better save money because things are getting bad. Or when you're announcing that all your DEI stuff is gone, and I know a lot of folks in especially in the DC Maryland area. Some of them were doing quite well, quite bougie, lots of bougie folks in our community with these $400 million government contracts and stuff like that. So it wasn't just like DEI hires; it was actually big government contracts and stuff. Well, anybody who's in that spot is now sort of scrambling, a little bit concerned, and kind of going back to their plan B, and they're a little bit worried about what the future is going to look like. And when people get worried, they don't spend money. When people get scared, they don't connect financially. This is one of actually the biggest issues. This is one of the reasons why the black economy struggles so much is because there's a lot of fear in the black economy. That's why I got so upset. Well, I get really upset whenever there's like a big scandal or something in our community where somebody starts an investment fund and it doesn't work out or whatever. I say, gosh, this is so bad because when people get traumatized and become afraid, they don't invest anymore. They don't want to spend anymore. They become scared, right? So ultimately, if you are to talk about the effect that a Donald Trump is could be having on the economy, I believe that financial trauma is really, really, really hitting a lot of people, and I believe that that's connected to the recent announcement that consumer confidence has started to dip. And remember, these sort of economic declines, they kind of escalate, or they kind of cascade. They starts with one negative thing over here, another negative thing over there. Next thing you know, the whole economy is negative, and financial trauma is a deep thing. We created a whole financial therapy department in the Black Business Schools, first ever Black financial therapy department ever created in history. And so we are making Black history over here. And my wife, who is a PhD level therapist, is working with the best Black therapists in the country to dissect the psychological barriers that keep us from building Black wealth. She's actually done a whole financial therapy workbook on, particularly focused on financial anxiety, because in her findings, and she's doing research right now, she's doing a research project on this topic right now. She's finding that this is huge for our people. This is big because when you're scared of each other and when you're just scared in general, what happens is not only do you not connect financially, but you also don't connect in terms of relationships. Like people wonder, well, where's the Black family? Why aren't Black people getting married? Because people are scared. They're scared. You like go listen to some of these guys talk about why they ain't getting married. They're scared to death. They're like, well, wait, if I get married, I'm gonna lose my stuff. You're gonna ruin my life. You gonna if I do something wrong, you're gonna call me a dog and destroy me. They're scared. People get scared. Same thing with women. Women have a lot of reasons to be afraid as well. Can I really trust these men? These men are not. Da, da, da. I don't know if I can really. This makes me kind of nervous. So I'm gonna be an independent, strong, independent, right? Whatever, right? And so fear drives a lot of disconnect. That's the point, right? When you're afraid of things and afraid of people, you don't walk into situations that might make you vulnerable. And as much as we might want to, I saw somebody wrote the word weak in there when I was talking about the men. They didn't say that when I was talking about the women, because women get scared too. But we might call it weak, but at the same time, if you've watched it happen to other people, like I can tell you the truth. I'll tell you my truth. When I was 22 years old, 23, my mentor was going through a divorce, and I saw his wife move out of the house and they were separated 5 straight years. And after 5 years, I saw her really come back and try to take a lot of his stuff. And it didn't make any sense to me, to be honest with you. I think that she wanted uh half of all the mortgage payments he'd been making on the house, but he'd been making all the mortgage payments by himself because she refused to do it. She wanted half of his pension, like all the money that he'd been saving up for the last 30 years. She felt like she deserved half of that. And it just kind of got, and I remember just sitting there thinking like, well, why would she get half of his pension? She wasn't shooting jumpers in the gym. She wasn't there at the start of his career. They were married 4 years, and so when you see that, it affects you. It made me say, well, okay, so if I do this, I better be sure. I better be 100% sure. And just for full disclosure, I didn't get married till I was in my 40s. I should have got married in my 30s. I was open to it. But if I saw any little thing that made me say, I don't know if I could trust my life to this person, I would say, you know what, I'm going to make this investment later. I became very conservative as an emotional investor because I did not want to end up in the situation of a lot of my friends. I had friends I would see people that would go through. You ever see people that went through an ugly divorce? Some of y'all went through it, and you know how you feel, or you look at people that have gone through it, and they just look like they've been through World War III, and like somebody just like had them in the torture chamber for a year and starved them half to death, and they're just like it's like their soul is out of their body, like it's gone. So I just kind of think that these experiences, watching other people go through that, it does have a real effect, and anybody who says that you shouldn't be affected by that, I kind of just look at that and say, I don't know if that's quite logical to see someone else suffer and then act like you just didn't notice it, or you're gonna just do whatever they did to end up where they are right now. You'd probably want to say, well, how do I avoid that? Right? It's like that movie when she says, "I'll have what she's having." It's like but imagine if she you see her vomiting and sick to her stomach, you're not gonna say, "I'll have what she's having." You're gonna say, I don't want to eat what did she eat? I got to make sure I don't eat that too, right? So ultimately, the financial trauma is extremely real. And one of the things I talk a lot about in my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, is really, really being conscious about not financially traumatizing each other. One example of financial trauma that you've experienced on many occasions, I'm sure. Give me a yes in the chat if you've loaned money on multiple occasions to somebody who did not pay it back, didn't even think about it, didn't care how it put you out, didn't care how it set you back, didn't care how much financial stress you were going through, right? Just didn't even pay it back, just didn't even have any financial consciousness, no financial consciousness whatsoever. This is what we teach, financial consciousness, no consciousness of, hey, wait a minute, you needed that money. Let me get you your money because I know you need your money. Didn't even say that. That's crazy to me. I'm like, who raised you? What wild animal raised you to make you think that you can borrow somebody's last $500 and then act like you don't even owe them the money, like they don't even need it? That's weird to me. I just don't understand that. And then when you see people do that to a loved one, it's like, okay, so you're not really my loved one because you don't love me if I can tell you how much I'm suffering because you did not pay me back, and you still got that new pair of Jordans, or you still walking around like everything's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. And this is the part that's kind of difficult because we talk extensively about building family businesses and black people working together to make money together and investment clubs and investing together. let's just be honest. That's scary for some of us. It's very scary because some of y'all's relatives are crazy. Some of your relatives don't have any financial consciousness. Some of your relatives are not reliable people. And that is the dilemma. That is what's really difficult about all of this. You want to work together and do stuff together, but then you're tempted to do what Magic Johnson says. Magic Johnson says don't hire any of your friends or your relatives. That's what he says. He says don't even hire them. I don't agree with that. I think that's a dilemma. I think that we gotta if we don't help each other out, who is? If we don't help our community, who will? You think you're gonna lean on friendly white people to pick up the tab? Is that what we're aiming for? Is that what we think? Is that what we expect? Um, because I when I think about a lot of this. And let's talk specifically about that example of Magic Johnson. I see sometimes you'll see celebrities that have these black-owned businesses, and I mentioned that but they'll have like this all-white management team or majority white management team. I don't know if Magic's in that category or not, but to me, having a black-owned business is nice, but I think you have to be able to show that you're doing something on a high infrastructural level that's really benefiting black families. Like if I show you my team at the Black Business School, you're gonna see a whole gang of black people who are able to pay bills and invest and buy things. Like I can go back and say, okay, yeah, we put about 15-20 million dollars into the black community because when we're looking for people that to hire and work with, we're looking in our immediate circle. We find our partners in our immediate circle. We find people that can benefit from what we're doing. I've got probably 50 partners that I work with on different things, and for the most part, they're black because I really honestly, my life is so blickety black that I could go literally a whole month without talking to a white person. It's not because I don't like them or I'm scared of them. I just don't have a reason to talk to them. I went to the Daytona 500 and they introduced me to some very nice white people from Chevy. And I told my friend, I said, you know what? I didn't realize until recently how traumatized I was from working with white folks because you don't know what the hidden agenda is. It's not that, I don't want, I know this sounds crazy for some people, but if you've been in like corporate spaces, you know what I'm talking about, where you don't even know, you're thinking everything's fine, everybody's nice. Next thing you know, there's some weird agenda happening and you don't even know what's happening. Next thing you know, you're out of the loop or you're fired or whatever. And or you tell a joke, they don't laugh. They tell a joke, you don't laugh because they think Seinfeld's hilarious. I never did. And I just don't know, so I told her, I said, I really like these people that I met. Every single person I met at Chevy, every one of them except maybe one was white. And these are some really nice white people. And I was like, yeah, boys, they're human beings. Like you can't just sit there and be nervous and suspicious. But I can say that the comfort level came from the fact that I don't work for them. It's like I don't work for you. I don't care what you think about me. I'm gonna show up as who I am, and hopefully you'll accept that person. And they did, right? So I think that this is the complexity of race in America. On one hand, we know the history. On the other hand, we know the disparities as well, right? You spent hundreds of years taking all of our stuff. Now you're in denial. So now there's a big racial disparity when it comes to wealth, and you don't want to take accountability for that. I can't let you off the hook for that because that's not fair. You have our stuff and you owe us our stuff. And then at the same time, we're over here trying to build, and we can't, it is harder to build because not only did you take all of our stuff and you kept it, but when we want to go even get a bank loan, you won't even open the door for that, right? So it's very difficult to build because we can't get the resources we deserve. So that's my complicated relationship with white people. But I'm gonna just tell you the truth. I love black people. I like working with black people. I feel like I'm supposed to do that. It's not some special task I'm doing. It's what we're all supposed to do. And so ultimately, I would encourage you when you're thinking about financial trauma, number one, make yourself just kind of make a rule that just says, I'm going to do my best not to financially traumatize people. This starts with the basic idea of doing your absolute best to take responsibility. Taking responsibility means following through on your economic commitments as much as you possibly can. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes we do things in the wrong way. But there was a video I saw, and I'm gonna try to share this video that I thought was really good because this guy was talking about black women, and he wasn't talking about every black woman. So if you're not a responsible black woman, you can't take credit for this one. But he was really talking about what some people might call, like the strong black woman and the tough black woman and stuff like that, and kind of giving a context to it that I thought was admirable. And I'm gonna try to see if I can find this video because I thought it was really good, and I feel like everybody needs to see it. Okay, where's the video, boys? All right, it's on my. Okay, it must be on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. All right, so let me pull up this video really quick. See if I must keep scrolling down. My Twitter, even if I'm even as I scroll down, it's always interesting to me. I'm like, Lord Jesus, boys, you had all these thoughts that went through your head that day, and you were sharing all this stuff out loud. All right, so here's the video. Hold on, here it is. Okay, I found it. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen, and and then hopefully you guys can hear it. Okay. It's a couple minutes long, but I think it's worth watching because I think it's appropriate, for us to just give shout outs to the women who gave birth to us, right? And that's what this video kind of does, and it gives a context that I think is worth hearing. So here we go. All right, let me hit share sound. All right, let's all right, share. Let me know. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear it. Okay, I'm gonna start playing the video now.
Chopping up my homeboy today. He said, "How do you love a broken woman?" And I said, "That's easy, but it's hard for you. So you want the truth?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "There's no such thing as a masculine woman or masculinity or none of that. It's called responsibility in my eyes." I said, "When you were young, did you have a bowl of shoulda, coulda, wouldas?" He was like, "Nah, I never had that cereal." I said, "Okay. It's imaginary cereal. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I shoulda did this. I coulda did this. I woulda did this." The world don't run on that. World runs on currency. "Did you live in a cardboard box?" He said, "No." I said, "Did you go to school naked?" I said, "No." "But your mother struggled, right?" He said, "Yes, she did." How ironic it is that you get older and you forget that women struggle. It's funny, huh? "But you never knew, did you?" He said, "No." "You kept the lights on, didn't you?" "Did you have a bunch of candles in your house?" He said, "No." I said, "Let me explain something to you. It's not masculinity, it's responsibility. Who else is going to do it?" Most of these women out here, man, today, they get disappointed just like everybody else, man. But unfortunately, what they got to do is they got to raise them children. And while the world blames them for everything else, here comes you. So you want to learn how to love a broken woman, a woman that you think is masculine. I'll give you the keys. I'll give you the dope today. The first thing you do is don't be the next disappointment. Love on her, man. But the second thing you need to do is to make sure you take care of you physically, emotionally, and mentally. She should not have to be responsible for you. You're a man. Also, the third thing you need to do is to make sure that you acknowledge her brokenness. You understand. And you love her through it. Be patient with her. And if you are a good man and you are a man of character, show it. Be completely different than what she's ever been used to. And the only way you can do this is to lead your life. Lead yours. She got a bunch of stuff on her plate. Make sure you're not on it either. That's how you love a broken woman. That's how you can help her. And if you see her going through something and struggling, instead of going back and forth with her, love her. Give her solutions. Use your love and your healing and your knowledge to help. If not, leave her alone, man. Don't be another disappointment. She's been through enough. Take care.
All right. What did you all think about that video? Give me kind of a one sentence response to that video. What did you think? Yeah, I like the video a lot. It's something that I've always believed, and I had to share it because I don't really hear a lot of people saying this, right? Um, I think that the complaining is louder than the solutions, and and or the solutions end up being somewhat distorted. um, I had to be quite honest with you that as much as I really liked or I respected the intellect of the late Kevin Samuels, He wasn't very happy with me because I pointed out to him that I said a lot of your solutions for the black relationships problem tend to fall on women. You tend to talk a lot about women in your titles. I went through 10 thumbnails. I said woman, 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 woman on every thumbnail. But I said, we really have to both take accountability for what's happened to our families because this is what's killing our wealth. This is what's hurting our wealth is this sort of imbalance with the family. And I think everybody has to step in first and foremost, pointing a finger, but not at other people. You got to point it at you. You got to point that finger at yourself first, if you want this wealth issue to be fixed. Now, if you don't want it to be fixed, then it's easy. What you do is you keep on going in and you say, these dang women, these dang men, these men, I'm gonna tell you, if you go through life as one of those people that thinks that your stuff don't stink and that it's always somebody else's fault, you're not going to get very far. I'll just tell you that right now. And this links back to the wealth issue, right? This links back, and actually, I want to actually go back to the Donald Trump thing in a minute too, because I think that that's an important lesson as well about financial trauma and stuff like that. But here's what I heard him say, and I'm going to lay this out because y'all know me. If I talk about wealth, I talk about wealth in the context of black families and what I'm seeing. You cannot talk about black economics without talking about black sociology. You can't. You cannot talk about black wealth without talking about the black family, because as I've mentioned to you all repeatedly in this class, there's been no community in the history of this world that has been able to build wealth in the midst of broken families. So if you want to build your wealth, start by building your families and or working with your families. That might mean a family therapist, whatever it is. That investment is one of the best investments you can make, is to have a therapist, a referee that can help you to get along with your spouse, get along with your girlfriend, boyfriend, get along with your kids, get along with your parents, resolve those issues, fix that trauma. Because if you don't, then you're going to miss a lot of economic opportunities for sure. And then also a lot of emotional damage as well. So here are a few things that he mentioned that I want to point out. I love how he said that thing about, and this a lot of this also ties back to business lessons as well. If you want to make money, I'm going to tell you, I'm a person who's made millions of dollars. I can tell you some business lessons that you're not going to read in a textbook, because the world is not a freaking textbook. The textbook reflects the world, but the world is what it is, right? So he mentioned in the beginning, he said, "Did you ever grow up eating a bowl of woulda, coulda, shouldas?" And and that hit me heavy because I thought about and I've told you all about the complex relationship I had with my biological father, and how I heard him say, "Yeah, one day I'm gonna get a Maserati. One day I'm gonna get it together." I heard his mother say, "Well, one day he's gonna get it together," and I'm sitting there thinking, so that means he ain't got it together. What, by you saying that to me, that tells me that my father's a bum. That tells me that my father's not, that he's not where he needs to be. And the man was in his 30s at the time. Sure, there's plenty of the game left to play, but I'm like, bro, I'm 14. I need a solid man to look up to. You don't sound so solid right now, right? And he talks about eating the bowl of woulda, coulda, shouldas, and I know a lot of people, male and female, to be fair, because I don't want to pick on men or pick on women, but those woulda, coulda, shoulda Negroes, those people that are like, yeah, I would have done this, but I could have done this, but oh, I should have. What I should have did was this, da 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 da. Right? They tell you that they're going to do something, and then they just come back with an excuse. And there are people who operate in that world of make believe. And this happens in business all the time. I told my brother, I said, I don't deal with people, I don't work with people who come back with excuses all the time. Because when it comes time for me to pay the people that I hire, I can't come back with an excuse. I can't say, "Well, I would have paid you, but what had happened was I could have paid you, but I went to the casino, or then the white man, and then I can't do that. I have to deliver." Right. And this is the thing that made my mother grow from a little girl to a woman, was when she gave birth to me. Sure, she could have terminated and just went on being a little girl and living her best life and twerking at the club. But my mother became a mom. And when she became a mom, everything got 100% real. She couldn't say I would have fed the baby, but, or I could have fed the baby, or I could have got clothes for the baby, but it was too hard. She couldn't do that. She had to actually follow through. She had to actually deliver. She had to actually find a way to put a roof over our head, which was scary as hell for her. but it pushed her to grow up. And these are the types of people I like to do business with. I like doing business with people where they say, I'm going to do something and they do it. They follow through. There's no and a lot everybody in here. Give me a yes if you know somebody that you grew up with in your family, maybe your own dang parent, who was always making promises and wasn't keeping the promises. Oh, I'm gonna pay you back on Tuesday. Tuesday comes, Wednesday comes, Thursday. They ain't paid nothing. Well, oh yeah, I'm gonna start the business right now. I'll have it to you by 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, rock. 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. Right. Next day comes by, 3 days go by, nothing happens because they were never put into a space of clear, pure accountability with consequences. They were never put in the. There's no consequences to talking. That's why they say talk is cheap. That's why they say talk is cheap. That's my issue with like the Diddy's. I used to say that about Diddy all the time. I said, this guy goes out to the black community and says, hey, y'all, we gonna buy the Carolina Panthers, y'all. Because he's trying to get all the likes and the shares and he wants credit. His mouth writes would write checks that his ass could not cash. And it's easy for somebody to go through life constantly writing checks with their mouth and then not cashing them on the other end. And that's exhausting to deal with people like that. It's very exhausting. And for men, I think it's when I talk specifically to men, I say, come on, you got to be careful because a man's mouthpiece, his words can really capture the imagination of a woman. Like women will really, be like, okay, all right, so we're gonna do this. This is our dream, and she'll get excited about it. And then you flop, and then she's like, see, that's why these blankety blanks ain't shit. Whatever, right? Like this, and but there are men who train other men to behave that way. There was a guy I knew, I kid you not, 30 years ago, I knew this guy who was really big and he had all these girlfriends. He had like 7 or 8 girlfriends. And all his frat brothers were like, man, how do you get all these girlfriends? And they would laugh. They'd say, he's so fat, and all these girls just love him. And you know what he said? And this really disturbed me when I heard it. He said, it's easy. You just gotta sell them a dream. Just tell them a dream. Just tell them what they want to hear. Tell them something, about the future and blah 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 blah, and then they'll all get caught up and fall in love, and you don't have to actually do it. You just say it. And this is a culture, people. I hate saying it, but this is a culture. This is what they might call pimping. Remember in the 70s exploitation movies, they started glorifying the pimp. Pimps were notorious for psychological manipulation. And it should disturb the hell out of you that millions of your young black men grew up looking up to pimps. Snoop Dogg years later comes along and says, "We don't love these hoes," and he's going to award shows with a pimp, with a sex trafficker with him, Bishop Magic Don Juan, and that kind of became the cool culture. It's like don't actually follow through, just say things, and make sure it sounds good, right? It's all about the flash over the substance. So you had a lot of these flashy Negroes that were getting attention of misguided, immature women. Maybe they didn't have a real father who actually had substance, so they would fall for the nonsense. The next thing your baby's mama living, in a women's shelter or something because you're the man that was supposed to be there and it's sort of in a sturdy way help you provide for this child. He's out in the streets getting some other girl pregnant, right? This is a narrative that happens too often. And this is a narrative I think we got to fight against. I really do. I really think we have to talk more about that instead of tiptoeing around it or trying not to be mean or trying not to hurt people's feelings. No, I'm gonna hurt your feelings if you're a punk. I'm sorry, I'm gonna hurt your feelings if you're a liar. I'm gonna hurt your feelings if you are of no substance. No, I'm sorry because I think that this is required to build a community. You have to really connect the culture that is promoted amongst the black male community. You have to connect that to the fact that the community is not being built. You have to promote the fact that the most prominent, most well-known black men in our community tend to be guys who do a lot of yapping, but don't do a whole lot of anything. They're not building anything. They're not out having business meetings. They're not constructing anything. They're not building. Not. They're not. Some of them aren't even building families. They think families are too much work, right? And what the men that I admire, the men I think we should take the time to honor are those really solid men who say, "Yeah, baby, I'm gonna get it done by 5," and they get it done by 5, or who say, "Yeah, those are my kids, or that's my responsibility." Those are the men. Those are your black heroes. Those are your black leaders, in my opinion. Those men who say, "Yeah, Mrs. Smith, I'll come take out your your trash. I'll shovel your snow. I'll, just those solid men. And you had men like that in the community, and somehow we decided that was lame, or that you were a square, or that you were a simp. They started calling, I got called a simp because I love my wife so much and I love my kids, and I'm honored to take care of my kids. And I said, no, actually, you got it wrong, brother. You're the simp. The white man made you into the simp because he's got you out here talking in a way that is incredibly harmful to the community, and in such a way that is going to make your children disrespect you. Your children and grandchildren are not going to honor you because they're going to look at you and they're going to say, you look like a big old bum because you haven't accomplished anything, you haven't built anything, you haven't taken responsibility for anything. And this is what I felt like the guy was leaning into, and I endorse that message 100%. Did you ever eat a bowl of shoulda, coulda, wouldas when you were a kid? A lot of us grew up on that cereal, and it don't taste good, right? It's like, no, I don't want shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I need actual food. And so when you do business, let's go back to business. Let's bring it back to economics in a more direct way, so people don't think I'm just talking about anything. Although this is an economic conversation. When you start doing business, when you make investments, you need to look for things that have substance. You need to work with people that have substance. You can learn. You should be interviewing people before you let them know that they're being interviewed. Watch how they move. Watch how they move. Watch the connection between their words and their actions. And also with yourself, watch the connection between your words and your actions. We all do that. We all say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get up and go to the gym," and then we don't go to the gym, right? Or I'm gonna finish this by 5 o'clock, and we don't finish it by 5 o'clock. Or I'm gonna start this business, and then we don't actually start, right? So all of us have that gap. All of us have that issue at some point in our lives. So none of us are perfect. But I can tell you that if you can get to the point where you can connect the two, actions and words, not only will you be more successful in life, but if you surround yourself with people like that, that's when dreams become reality. A dream starts in your head. And then after it's in your head, it becomes words. You talk about the dream, but then at that point, it's still not real. It's in your head, and you said it. And some people think that by saying it, if I go to church and get the Holy Ghost and start screaming about what I'm going to do, that that's the same as actually doing it. No, no, no. There's that last step. Did you turn it into actual reality? And when you start to have the ability to ideate something, speak it, and then manifest it through your actions, then that's when you've gained the capacity of what I refer to as an economic God. You've really truly embraced the power of God. You have the ability now to imagine something and then make that thing real. That's very powerful. That's an amazing power, but you got to work for that. And then what you want to do is you want to look for other people who have embraced this very same idea, and then you will just go through manifesting. Boom, manifest the building, manifest real estate, manifest wealth, manifest stock, manifest ownership, manifest education, manifest whatever, right? If you can do that, then that will make you very successful, and you want to build a family like that. When you have kids, you want to train your kids on these sorts of things because there are too many people that just grow up in a space where they're used to being let down and disappointed, and that harms the economy because I mentioned earlier to you that you cannot have an economy if you don't have trust. Trust comes from me knowing that if you said you're going to deliver something by Tuesday at 5 o'clock, that's pretty much what's going to occur. And here's the thing that's really fascinating about us as black folks that we have to confront. We will deliver like hell for the white man because we know he don't play. If the white man says, you need to be at work by 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning and do that every single day for 10,000 days in a row, oh, we gonna do that. We gonna do that. If he says you need to work consistently from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and you cannot be distracted for too long. We don't want to see you on your phone. We don't see you doing whatever. We will do that. We will stick to the plan, right? We will follow through. We're real consistent when it comes to what that white man wants. Why? Well, because we know he ain't playing with you. We know that there's consequences. We know that if I don't show up at 9 o'clock, I won't have a job. And then after I don't have a job, I'm going to be financially traumatized because now I can't eat and I have nowhere to live. Right? We know that if we don't do what we're told, we're going to be in trouble. But when it comes to you and that little business of yours, you make promises to yourself and you break them all the time. You do. If you sit down at a business, I've known people who can sit up, who can go to work at 9 a.m. every morning and work all day long and do that consistently for years. But when it comes time for them to start a business and build their own dream, they'll say, "Oh, I'm going to start working at 10 o'clock," and then they'll get distracted, get on the phone with somebody, and next thing you know, they don't start till noon. And then they start at noon, they say, "Oh, I'm tired," and they quit working by 1, right? And then they get distracted, they go to the mall because now they feel like they got the day off and they're not. So at the end of the day, what happens is that we will have more consistency, more discipline, and more commitment and more follow through when it comes to building somebody else's business than we have when it comes to building our own. And a lot of that's because we don't respect our boss. That's what it is. You're the boss and you don't respect yourself, but you respect what that man's got. You respect that boss you got at UPS. You respect that boss that you have at Nike. You respect that boss that you have at McDonald's, but you don't respect the boss that you have in your house, and you don't respect your little black business because you don't even believe enough in your dream. So how in the hell can you manifest a dream that the dreamer doesn't even fully believe in? Like it really, in order for anybody else to see what you're trying to build and to see it as real, you have to be the first investor. And you've got to be the one who believes in this thing to the core of your soul. If you don't believe in it, then nobody will. Why would I believe in something that you barely believe in? In fact, when people come to me and they try to get me to partner on stuff and they want me to invest in their business, first question I ask is, well, how much did you do? How much investment did you make? How long have you been involved with this? And if you tell me, well, I just came up with the idea last Tuesday, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, come back and talk to me in about 3 years, and then I'll ask you the same questions, and then if it's still around in 3 years, then we can have a conversation because I don't do woulda, coulda, shouldas, and I don't do ideas that you just came up with in the last 10 minutes because anybody can do that. Coming up with an idea is easy. It's like the difference between having sex and raising kids. Anybody can have sex. You don't need discipline to have sex because sex feels good, right? But it does take discipline to raise kids. So don't come up and tell me I just had sex, so that makes me a parent. No, it doesn't. It might make you a sex fiend or whatever. It might make you a happy man, but that don't make you a parent, brother. To be a parent, you got to come up to me with a full-grown 25-year-old that's sitting next to you that just graduated from college somewhere and is doing well in his life and says, "Yeah, this is my dad, this is my mom." That tells me you're a parent because I know that you put approximately 220,000 consecutive hours into one project consistently and did not get distracted the entire time. That's substance. That human being standing next to you is absolute substance. Everything else is just talk. And talk is okay, but talk is cheap. That's why it's everywhere. Right. So anyway, let me move on. Before I move on, I wanted to let everybody know if you have an interest in stock options, we just built something in the Black Business School called Coin, which is a certified options income network. It's a 12-week intensive where we cover stock options from A to Z, and we're going to start in early March. And I'm the teacher of this program. So if you're interested in talking to someone about Coin, write down this URL. Somebody type it in the chat. It's drboycecoin.com, drboycecoin.com, and stock options are a great way to make money. It's a great tool to have. I think your kids should understand stocks and stock options. And so feel free to go to drboycecoin.com and you can share your membership with members of your family, stuff like that. So feel free to go to drboycecoin.com. I just want to mention that to you guys. All right. Now, let's circle back to the Donald Trump thing really quick. And then I want to go back. I want to finish up on the last point with this. Now, with that video, if you want to get the video, just go to my Twitter. It's on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins and the number 1. So if you're looking for the link to the video, just go to my Twitter, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, and the video is right there. Now, in terms of Trump and the economy, let me make a couple more quick points about that. We talked about that earlier. I do think that Trump is harming the economy. I think that a lot of what he did in the beginning that boosted the stock market and all that, a lot of that's gone. And it's disappeared, and now we're kind of in a phase where it's actually been hurting the economy, and I think that Elon Musk also is feeling a little bit of economic pain from Tesla dropping 25% since he started doing this stuff with Doge. A lot of investors feel he's distracted, but remember, these guys are not going broke. They are individuals that are able to make money hand over fist in a lot of different areas. So so this is not me saying that they're losing everything. It's just me saying that I wouldn't be surprised if we did have a recession in the near future, because I think that the slinging around these tariffs, it doesn't just have the effect of causing economic disruption from the tariffs themselves. It's destabilized America's role as a good trading partner, and that's actually created some challenges. So I don't think that necessarily, I don't know how this is going to end, but I think right now it's kind of headed south, not just for the economy, but also for the stock market, which means that I think the Federal Reserve is going to reverse its policy in terms of interest rates. I think they're going to reduce interest rates soon when they start to see these issues emerge, and that's going to boost the economy a little bit, right? So they tend to inject the medicine when things start to go bad. But I think that so I still think you should be a stock market investor, in my opinion. Not investing advice, but I'm an investor. I'm just buying the dips. Okay, now some of you are asking questions. Okay, so a couple questions about that Dr. Boyce coin. It's Dr. Boyce coin. So Dr, not the full word doctor. Dr. Boyce coin, drboycecoin.com. Second of all, what's the difference between coin and prime? Prime is focused on two simple goals: income and stability. That's it. The number one goal of Prime is to figure out ways to consistently generate income from stock options and to keep that income stable. So that's what we focus on. We focus on the sell side for stock options. That's it. So we hunt for stocks. We find stocks that can generate income, and it's designed for those who want to make extra money from their stocks that they hold. It's a great way to make money. This is how I make money for my family. So that's what Prime does. That's Dr. Boyce Prime. Coin is I created Coin for everyone who wants to understand options from A to Z. So if you want to understand options from A to Z, from the very beginning to the very top, to advanced strategies, the buy side and the sell side, then that's what Coin does. So it's 12 weeks. And then what happens is, after Coin, you get a 3-month trial in Prime. You could go into Prime and apply what you know, but you'll have skills that go far beyond Prime. So that's the difference between Coin and Prime. And by the way, in terms of the of that video, just go to my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. The video's right there. All right. Now, a couple more things I want to mention that the guy said in the video, actually. And it's speaking of that, well, I'm not going to play it again. In case you came in late, basically it's a video of a man who was explaining why black women sometimes can appear to come off as masculine and assertive when it comes to controlling their own destiny. Well, I'll tell you one story that I heard from a woman who might be accused of being the strong black woman and stuff like that. Was She told me about her father, and she said her father was an alcoholic, and he used to beat up her mother. And one day her father killed himself when she was a teenager. And I said, that must have been sad for you to lose your father as a teenager. And she said, actually, I was kind of relieved. And I said, what do you mean relieved? She said, because I knew that with him being gone, there wouldn't be so many beatings happening in the house, right? So the father's trauma led to his alcoholism, because he was a black man in the 1930s, 1940s. That trauma led to these really negative outcomes, like the alcoholism and the abuse and things like that, right? So what happened with her and all of her sisters is that all of her sisters, none of them stayed married for very long, and all of them had a really hard time trusting men. And I understood that, because I don't think I'd be able to trust women if my mother was addicted to crack and tried to kill me. I'd probably say, maybe women have a dark side I don't know about. You're right. And so ultimately, this is the kind of stuff that you're healing from. So one thing that he mentioned that I tend to agree with, and I think this doesn't just apply to family and relationships, it applies to business. As he said, one thing that we can do, and he was talking about men, but I think it's really for everybody, is he says, one, don't be somebody's next disappointment, right? When you come in, and I talk about this in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, when you come in and you're part of an economic or in a social ecosystem, you really want to come in sort of with an expectation of, like, okay, what can I do that's going to make this thing work, that's going to make this thing better? Where can I add value? Adding value is everything, right? When I hire people, the biggest mistake people make is they think that I'm paying you to do work. I'm not paying you to do work. Anybody could do work. I could sit here and say I worked for 18 hours, and I spent the whole 18 hours folding this piece of paper, and it was really hard because I folded it into tiny little blocks, and it took me 18 hours to do that. That doesn't add value to anything. And this is a big mistake when it comes to economics. This is a big lie that you're taught as a kid. You're taught that you are paid to work. You're not paid to work. Your boss does not pay you to work. Your boss pays you because you're adding value. You're doing something that is giving them a product to sell, that's helping their company to function. You're doing something that's adding value. They're not paying you to work. There's a lot of work you could do that adds no value to anything. There are a lot of things that are really hard and take a lot of time, but that does not make them valuable. So when someone comes and they're like you should pay me because I'm making because I look at how hard I worked and look how many hours I put in, and I'm like, yeah, but did you add value? I would pay somebody who works 10 minutes who adds value more than I would pay somebody who works 10 hours who adds no value. Now, if I promise you that I was going to pay you and I owe you money, you're going to get the money, but then you might get fired because I'm going to look back and say, I can't afford to keep paying you just to spin your wheels just to do stuff. I can only afford to pay you if you're adding value. So really, when he says don't be the next disappointment, I think that also ties back to business in the sense that when you go into an economic ecosystem, starting with your family business, your family investment club, just your family period, you want to figure out how you can add value. And this is an urgent idea. This is really an urgent idea, and I really want to take a moment to ask you if you're really under hearing what I'm saying here, because many of us, give me a yes if you've seen this. Let me know if you've seen this. Has anybody ever seen a family where you've got different roles, where maybe you have two or three people that take responsibility and make things happen and get things done, but then you've got that person who doesn't feel like they owe anything to anybody, who just feels like they can just show up and eat and they don't got to bring a plate, right? They can just they don't feel on any level that like they feel like they can take, but then it doesn't even cross their mind. Their financial consciousness isn't even developed enough to say, well, maybe I should replace what I took. Do you understand? If you're in that category, you have to be really careful because that could make you a parasite. No organism can survive when it's full of parasites. The earth has parasites called humans, and we take stuff, we destroy things, but we don't replace what we destroy. But smart people are the ones who say things like, okay, for every tree we cut down, we should plant two trees. That way we're replenishing what we took out. Do you understand? So if you don't sort of have that approach to things, then whatever ecosystem you're part of is going to struggle and they're going to have extra weight to carry because of you. No one in the family should be trained to believe that it's okay to be dead weight. And in many cases, and my wife, with her being a family therapist, she sees lots of clients and families and stuff. She's the one that explained to me that in every family we have different roles. So sometimes you might have the responsible kid, and then the middle child, and then you have the baby, and maybe the baby always thought that he's not supposed to do anything. The baby ain't supposed to cook. The baby ain't supposed to bring food. The baby ain't supposed to bring in money. But the baby can take, and that's okay. And sometimes the baby is still a baby when he's 52 years old. Do you understand? So understanding your role and not being the disappointment, but also and knowing that you can add value is huge because if everybody adds value, everybody's chipping in, then you can get more done. And in fact, we do that in this space. We do this in this class. When I mentioned to you all, when I was like, hey, I got this great book called The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, and I want to invite you to help spread the word and do business with you. So what my offer to you, and I mentioned this yesterday, was I said, look, I'll sell you autographed copies for $8. That's better than a wholesale price. Wholesale is usually 60% off, so that'd be like 20 something bucks. No, you can buy it for $8, and you can then take those books and you can resell them to other people if you want to, and they're going to benefit because the book really is substance. The book really does work, it has powerful ideas, right? And so that was me kind of also saying like, look, don't put me on no pedestal. I ain't nobody's god. I am not a black leader superhero. I can't fight the white man by myself. But I do know that I can fight white supremacy if I have thousands of other people who also understand that they can play a role in the process, right? I know that working together we can't be stopped. I know that as a group there's nothing they can do to us. And this is something I feel strongly about with black leadership is that we have like what I call the super Negro model of black leadership. We always have this one guy who's like, I'm the man, I'm the most important, I'm whatever. Look at me, I'm on the stage, and I'm like, man, I get to stand on a lot of stages, but I love it when other people are on the stage too. I like it when because that means I got teammates. because I played sports and I know that if I want to win a football game, I need a football team. You can No football game has ever been won by a football player. There's no one player that can win a football game. You need a team. So ultimately, I think that your success in your family, your success in your business, your success in your life, your success in your community is gonna come from the team. And so my goal is to empower the team. I tell you all the time, I do not teach any students. I have no students in here. I teach teachers. That's it. I teach teachers. So I want you to feel empowered to walk out here and say, you know what? I've been deputized by Dr. Boyce, and he's a, when you get a PhD, you can do that. PhDs can give PhDs to other people and stuff. I got my PhD from another PhD. It's kind of like being a Jedi master or like a ninja or a kung fu, black belt or something, right? So I deputize you. Like once you learn this stuff and you've internalized these ideas, I want you to embrace the fact that you are ahead of almost everybody. They nobody, and you can go back, you can look at the Garveys and the Booker T's and everybody. Ain't nobody did black wealth the way we do it up in here. I'm sorry, they were great in their own right for sure, and it's not a comparison. But this, I don't think there's ever been a space where you had someone with a doctorate in finance that was speaking this deeply, specifically on black economics, this much every single day to this many people in the whole history of our country. So we are making black history up in here. That's what we're doing up in here. We are some badass Negroes. So I just want to clap for yourself because those of you that are embracing some of these ideas and applying them, like following through, not the woulda, coulda, shouldas. I'm talking about the people that are really doing it. Your families are going to remember you. I mean, they're going to be impacted 100 years from now, and I'm gonna tell you, it's got me excited. I'm really excited, especially when I was on Tuskegee's campus this week, and I saw what Booker T was doing over 120 years ago, and I said, man, I wonder if he can imagine how beautiful this campus would be over 100 years later, based on the work that he did. So we got this. We got this. We will win. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. All right. So anyway. Um, I'm gonna get out of here, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. And just so you know, there are a few things that the guy mentioned just to finish off his video. He also mentioned um, acknowledging the pain of our men and our women. When I got married, I was determined. I said I'm gonna invest my life in a person. I got to invest in a black woman because I know what black women go through because of my mother, my sister, my grandmother, my daughter, and I have to acknowledge the challenge that my wife has experienced, right? Which might come out sometimes, it may come out in a weird, awkward, ugly way, but I have to kind of understand that. And I think this is why I'm a big fan of black people kind of loving black people because we understand what the other one went through. Also, he mentioned leading your life, and I think that's extremely important. At the end of the day, you have to lead your life. Uh, Another person cannot make you whole. You have to show up whole, and then they show up whole, and then you become whole together. You become something better together. And this is an investment decision. This is what's going to get you ahead financially. When you have two people that just kind of have a mission and have a plan that are able to execute, then you become like you really do become a superpower. So my wife. People would jokingly say they say, "Oh, you're a power couple," whatever. I don't know. I don't know about that, but I will say that I know that I can walk in her office and say, "Hey, babe, let's do this thing. Let's do ABC 1, 2, 3 and get it done by next Tuesday." She will execute. She will execute like unlike no other. And really, honestly, when your spouse gets on your nerves, I will literally reflect to myself like, you know what, your wife is like really on top of her game. Like you should really, really remember that. Never forget that, right? And so, get good teammates in your life. Find good teammates, and not just as partners, as romantic partners, but also as friends and as business associates. And when you get a few good men and women together, maybe you form a group. Again, I think forming family investment groups, maybe you meet on a Zoom once a week or once a month or something and just talk to each other and get to know each other, get to trust each other, and then you can slowly start to build together. That's how people can build wealth. Because what will happen is at some point, some idea, your $1 million idea is in the ether. It's already out there. It's already waiting. It's waiting to be discovered. It's just sitting there like gold buried in your backyard. So one day you're going to sit there and you're going to run across your $1 million idea. And because you not only have the consciousness to spot the idea, but you also have the follow through to execute the idea, then you'll get a chance to manifest the idea. So do that. And then also on top of that, when you have these investment groups and clubs and all that, which I encourage you to create, you're not doing it all by yourself. because I can tell you one of the things that does happen is that the more advanced you get when it comes to this economic stuff, the more disconnected you're going to get from certain parts of the world. It's very easy to open up and open up Instagram and see black people doing something crazy. I saw this video, yes, that just was like, what this is out of the ghetto playbook. There was literally, I kid you not, there was it was so funny. There was this there was a group of our people who were waiting at the ticket counter at Spirit Airlines. Did anybody see that? Because they were about to fly to get on a Carnival cruise. That right there, that's funny right there, right? And they got in this big old fight in the airport. And it was like 30 people fighting in the airport. And I was like, oh my God, this is so terrible, but it's hilarious too. And it's like a bunch of people got in a fight at the Spirit Airlines counter on their way to a Carnival cruise. I mean, again, right out of like a ghetto kind of ghetto playbook. And so it's easy to turn on the internet and to see people doing stuff where you're like, come on, man, seriously. Um, but so given that you live in that kind of a world, I think it's really important that you find other people who can help you visualize a better world, right? People who don't think that you're crazy because you want our folks to have more wealth and you want our families together and you want us succeeding. You want our kids to be able to read, right? You're asking the hard questions. Again, like I asked those questions like, well, how is it that you're giving billions of dollars to these schools and the black kids can't read? Well, give the billions of dollars to me. I can make sure that they read when they leave. Like, what are you doing with that money? Or even other little things that I've asked consistently, and I've never understood this. I saw Kendrick Lamar win his Grammy, and during as he's walking up on the stage, all these white people they start clapping and everything at the Grammys, And Kendrick's great; he's a great artist, but they're playing his song. And I heard the N word loudly in that song about 6 times as he's going up there. And I was like, I wonder if anybody else is feeling a little bit awkward about this. Like it's like, I love Kendrick, but it was like igga nigga igga 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 igga, And I thought about that and I said, I wonder how I said, do they do that with everybody else? Do Jewish people have artists that get awards because they're calling Jewish people whatever the derogatory term is for a Jew. I'm not even gonna say it, but you know what I'm talking like, or Mexicans maybe. Is there a Mexican artist where their song literally will just pepper while they're getting their award? It's like peppering the most derogatory term about Mexicans or Chinese people, ching 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 or whatever, right? I don't see that anywhere. I don't see that anywhere. And the idea that when I say this, people say, "Oh, you're out of touch." I'm like, well, whatever you're in touch with, I don't want to touch it because you've been infected. You're mentally with something that makes you think this is okay. But this is specifically for black people. If Kendrick ain't black, you can't he would not get away. That song, the song was a great song. I liked it, right? It's I mean the great beat and I saw the Super Bowl performance and all of that. But does anybody else think that's strange? And and I think and I was like, how do we really ever think we can actually be equal when this kind of behavior is still considered to be normal? I don't think it's normal. I think it's a reflective of mental illness, to be honest with you. So anyway, enough of that. Thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna let you guys go and have a good day. I'll put that video also on my Instagram. I know a lot of you are looking for the video. I'm gonna put it right now on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So find Dr. Boyce Finance on Instagram. The video will be up there in 20 minutes. Also, if you want to apply for the coin program, the Certified Options Income Network, feel free to go to drboycecoin.com. That's drboycecoin.com. You could talk to someone about that. And then last but not least, if you want to get a text notification for class tomorrow, just pull out your phone, text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948, and I will hit you guys up. So